Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today we're talking about not so much business, but some relationship advice. And we're going to help you build a kick-ass marriage. Our guest words, not mine. We're going to have a lot of fun today. And typically, if you're a longtime listener to the show, you know that I have no idea who our guests are before we start this conversation. But today I'm lucky enough to know these two, Craig and Meredith of Road of Life Coaching. We're in a group called TFP that I know I've mentioned on this show before together. So Craig and Meredith, welcome to the show. And thank you guys for being here.
Oh, thanks, Brandon. We're thrilled to be here with you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's awesome.
I told you guys before we started recording, but for the audience, I actually didn't know you scheduled this podcast. I just saw it on my calendar and then I clicked on and I saw the names. So I was like, it's Craig and Meredith. That's so much fun. We're going to have one big party here. So I'm ready to do just that. I'm ready to talk about how to develop a kick-ass relationship. But I'm curious, before we get there, what was your path to relationship coaching? Because I think not everybody can do that, but you guys are really, really good at it. So what brought you here?
It's an interesting story. We'll keep it short because we know the episode is short. We actually work in the corporate world together. We work for the same company. And years ago, the company decided they were closing our office and they wanted to move us across the country, or we could go. And there was a lot happening at that point, and it was a very stressful decision. But in the end, we ended up deciding to go. We sort of trusted our gut. We were feeling unfulfilled in that corporate existence and that we had a little bit more to offer the world, even though we didn't know what it was. So even though we had no plan, and we're both very sort of type A plan people, it felt like the right decision inside to jump into the plane and figure out how to build the parachute on the way down.
And we did not know how to build that parachute. And we started a business right away to replace that corporate income because we were in a rush to we were stressed out, we're going to leave these corporate jobs and these great salaries. And now we have to go and figure that out. And we jumped into this business and we did some research and we figured real estate's going to be the way. We're going to do real estate. It's going to be a real estate business. There was an altruistic bend to it. We were going to help homeowners find their first home. We were going to jump into that. And we absolutely hated every second of it. It was the worst.
We were miserable.
Yeah. It was basically a corporate job without the income with it. So it was we were completely unfulfilled still, but also not making any money. Mm-hmm. And so we just decided, and it was impacting our relationship actually, which has been the bedrock for us. It's been the foundation for everything we've done in our lives. And that this was shaking that foundation a little bit. We were getting a little bit snippy with each other and we recognized that and we hit pause and we turfed that business. And we realized that we hadn't done any inner work to understand what it was that we actually wanted our life to be, or who we want it to show up as in the world. And so that was the journey we went on. We closed up that business and we went on that journey of personal growth, self-development, understanding who we are, what we want in the world. And that's when on that journey, we discovered that we have a superpower for relationships.
So at these various events, we would end up at we went to some real estate conferences that I think you're familiar with, that had a real personal growth bend to them. So that was our first introduction to personal growth. Then we ended up at a lot of these different events. And at every event, people would come up to us and, hey, it's cool you're doing this together. You seem to have a really strong relationship. And they'd ask us relationship questions, which we thought was really fun and cool. But it wasn't until we were invited to speak on stage at an event that we're about relationships that we realized that we actually had something special to offer. And it was as we sort of codified what we think makes relationships work to give that talk, that became the basis of our relationship coaching program, or relationship coaching business existence. And so that was sort of how we kind of backed into relationship coaching.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story. I love how you kind of hated on corporate America and real estate all at the same time in that story. And thank you guys for doing that too, because I personally can't stand all the people on the internet who are like, oh, everyone makes millions in real estate. Go do that. I'm like, I don't know if everyone does or if it's for everybody. So
Yeah.
thank you for the raw honesty there. What I'm curious though is, in business, being an entrepreneur, it's not an easy road. It's not for everybody, but especially as a couple, it's really rare to see a strong couple who are also business partners. Out of the clients that you work with, what percentage would you say are in business together versus, just one of the partners owns their own business or is an entrepreneur?
Of our entrepreneur clients, I would say, I'm not sure, like 3/4 maybe are both. They may not both be in the same business. So we've also worked with entrepreneur couples who are both entrepreneurs, but they have their own businesses, and entrepreneurs who are in the same business together, and then some who are one corporate, one entrepreneur. So I'm not sure the exact breakdown of that, but
It's a mixed bag. I would say
at least half, though, I'd say, are in the business together.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised by that. That's a much higher number than I thought you were going to say. But
I think it's been the network that we've built is a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of them kind of join this on this journey together.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So the big question, I guess, is why do people come to you? I assume it's not because there's roses and unicorns in their relationship and everything's happy and they want more happy.
No.
It's probably a little bit darker story. So talk to me about what life looks like, what your business life looks like when people first approach you.
Yeah, people usually reach out when things have gotten to the point that it's getting to be untenable, right? Most people aren't reaching out at the first signs of a little bit of friction. People are reaching out once they've been down the road a little bit and they're really feeling a distance between them and their spouse. They're feeling more like roommates. They're feeling a deep disconnection that didn't used to be there. And once that gets painful enough, that's when they reach out. It would be really great if people reached out really early in that process. It would be much, much, much easier, but people generally wait until the pain gets to be significant before they start reaching out. So usually we're getting people coming to us when things are not feeling very good in their relationship.
Usually when the pain of staying in an unhappy, untenable relationship is actually starting to exceed the pain of having to reach out and talk to somebody is usually when that balance tips. But I would say that also men tend to be less
slower.
Less active to getting to the root of the problem, like asking for help or looking for help than women. So a lot of times a woman will come to us and ask for help, reach out, and the man's not ready yet. He's not there. Or a lot of times you'll get a man come to you and the woman has already been down this path for quite a while. And sometimes they wait too long. And that's a painful situation.
Women tend to reach out earlier in the process. Men tend to reach out, not exclusively, but men tend to reach out later as the road goes a little longer.
That doesn't sound like us at all.
Right?
No, that tracks. That makes sense. But how does this manifest in business? So if whether both partners are in the same business or you just have one who's an entrepreneur, what does it start to look like day to day in your business? Because if your home life is upset or you're walking on eggshells like this, you can't be bringing your full self to work, I would assume. So what are the business side of things look like when this is happening?
Well, I think for one, they tend to throw themselves in their work, right? We tend to throw ourselves in our work to distract us from, it's easier to be at the office trying to figure out office problems than it is to be at home trying to figure out home problems. So people tend to spend a lot more time in the office. But I would say that the time isn't necessarily as high quality because your mind only can take so much turning at one time. And if a good chunk of your brain is focused on, you've got a problem at home, you're distracted by that problem at home. It's consuming you. It's keeping you up at night. It's certainly distracting you during your day. So you're not getting a good quality of sleep to bring your best self to the office anyway. Plus, when you're there, you are distracted by what's happening at home and you're trying to put it out of your mind and focus on your business. But we're not great at multitasking as human beings anyway. And it's a high emotion problem at home. So it's even more consuming when it's distracting. So you're definitely not bringing your best self, like your highest, most productive self to work. And so you're a little bit spinning your wheels, which is creating frustration at work that compounds your frustration at home.
And by you spending more time at work to avoid the problem at home, you're actually creating more distance and more, it actually starts to snowball and build into a bigger and bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're ignoring me. You're throwing yourself into work. I don't even know you anymore. I'm sure you've never heard those things before, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm speaking maybe from experience in the past, but that's okay. I think we all get there at some point.
Yeah.
And there's people like you that exist to help us out of it, which is
Exactly.
the amazing thing.
Exactly.
Which begs the question, how do we get out? What is the first step is obviously reach out to you guys.
Yes.
After that, what do we need to do? Or maybe that's not even the first step. It's awareness is probably the first step to say, you know what, I do have a problem here. There's something going on and I need help with it. So where do people go with that?
So a lot of entrepreneurs, we see ourselves as problem solvers. We're not problem creators, and we want to shield our partner from as much of the problems as we can, stress. So we dive into work and we don't let them in, and we just focus on our world, and we try to solve the problem but not let them in. And as we do that, a wall builds. So I think the first thing is actually getting a little bit vulnerable. And for some people, that's a really, really massive step. But we have to remove the stigma around talking about what our problems are. And when you start to do that, you start to bring down the wall between you, because as human beings, we're meaning-making machines. So if I have something going on and I'm not telling my wife, she's got a story in her head that she's creating. She's got a narrative that's running, and it's probably a lot worse than the actual story had I just told her. And so she's thinking, oh, like, what is it? Like he's out, he's
never
cheating,
home,
or he's never home, he's cheating on me, or I'm not good enough, or he doesn't want to talk to me. Like any number of these crazy stories that really aren't serving us come up, when in actual fact it could be as simple as something like that could be dealt with in a relatively easy conversation.
Yes. Well, easy, a simple conversation
versus if we had left it.
Yeah. We call it a let them in conversation. Just let them in on what's going on. What's keeping you up at night? What are you afraid of? What's stressing you out? What are you striving for? What are your goals? Like sometimes we're afraid to even share those things because we don't want anyone to think they're silly or laugh at us. And so all like the good things like goals and dreams, but also all the scary stuff that's keeping us up at night and, keeping us stressed and frustrated. To Craig's point, we try to keep that to ourselves to not burden our spouse with it. But having a conversation where you lay that bare for your spouse to let them in knocks down the wall that's starting to build between you. Because every time you don't share, it puts a brick in the wall. And so when you finally lay all that out, it really knocks that wall down between you. And then you got to keep that up. It's not a one and done thing for sure. But that initial, once you become aware that your marriage doesn't feel like it used to, you're feeling like there's a distance. You're feeling like, you're a bit walking on eggshells with each other. You can't get anything right. You never seem to communicate on the same page. When you're starting to feel that, that's the awareness. That's the time to say, okay, what do I need to let them in for? Like, what do I need to let them into? What do I need to share with them so that we are, again, back on the same page, on the same team, fully aware of what's going on? And, you're trusting your spouse that they can handle what you're sharing with them because you're a team and you've decided to be this team together. That's the biggest ticket thing, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I hate to put you guys out of business, but I feel like that would solve majority of the problems. So
for sure,
how do you know when it is time to seek guidance, external guidance from someone like yourselves, where maybe you tried that conversation, it didn't land well, or you just delivered it poorly because you're a guy and you don't know how to talk about your feelings. Again, I'm projecting. But when do you know to take that next step?
As soon as what you've tried is not working. As most of the time, people, when we talk to them, it's like nothing works. It's like, well, nothing that you've tried so far, nothing you're aware of has worked. And so it's just you would get a little help if you're golfing, you would go see a coach to fix your swing when that starts to feel a little off. It's the same thing with your relationship. When it's feeling like it's off and you've tried a couple things that have worked in the past or that you've heard that worked, but it hasn't changed the feeling in your relationship. Like a couple of tweaks with a coach will do wonders. Yeah,
I think it's really listen to your intuition. Like as an entrepreneur, when something's off in your business and something's off in your world. Your relationship's no different. You can sense when something's off. sooner the better.
Yeah.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is
Yeah.
that the thing? Like the earlier we get to this, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So when something feels off, jump on it.
Yeah.
Try something if you want to try something on your own, read a book or a podcast or whatever. But if that's not moving the needle for you, then quickly pivot and get some help.
Yeah.
Let's shout you guys out. You have a podcast, am I right?
We do have a podcast. Yeah.
What's the name of it?
It's called the Road of Life podcast. And similar to you guys, we try to keep it bite-sized. So, like 15-ish minute episodes where we tackle sort of one concept, one strategy, one tool at a time.
I love it. That's fantastic. So if this resonates, if you want to have a better relationship, I strongly encourage you to go download that podcast. Maybe stick with us too. You could do 2 podcasts, I think.
They're short podcasts.
But so I'm also curious then, we know what this could look like, what it could feel like, and when to take that action step. What does it look like on the other side? After you've worked with people, they get their relationship back together. What does their business then look like?
Their business generally takes off because we believe that the thriving marriage is the cheat code for life. It's certainly the cheat code for your business, but it's the cheat code for life, because when you're not spending that mental energy, you're not spending that time trying to fix over here, distracted by it and trying to fix all this happening over here, you not only have that energy to redirect to your business at a higher quality version of you, more productive version of you, but you also have the synergistic effect of your spouse's support and energy too. So it like the trajectory when you're both on the same page, working to, like, even if she doesn't work or he doesn't work in the business with you, just the fact that you have their support and their energy behind you is like the trajectory becomes infinite. Your business changes.
But for those entrepreneurs who are in a business with their spouse, it's almost like a bomb of like exponential growth, because you've both got this energy behind you and this, you're not, like she says, you're not worried about fixing things. You're just maintaining your relationship and it's going well. So you've got all this extra energy that kind of just compounds on each other, that you can focus on your business and do the things that really matter and are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love this episode so much. And I'm last question here is I'm curious if there's one little tip that you could give to the listeners, maybe it's something you guys do every day in your relationship or that you've assigned to your clients. How can we start that momentum, that flywheel in a positive direction?
I think it's the daily check-ins.
Yep.
So I think it's really critical to start bringing down any walls that are between you, any sort of barrier between the communication between you two. So at night, or anytime during the day really, but we do it at night, is have a check-in question and just check in on the day. Just check in with your spouse. It shows them that you care. And it's not as simple as like, hey, how was your day? How was your day is going to get you a fine or good. A generic question will get you a generic
it's going to
answer.
get you a full download of every single item of their day.
Yeah.
What we're looking for is a really specific question, like what was the best part of your day? Or what was your favorite lesson you learned today? Or what made you laugh? Something really specific that will give you a thoughtful and specific answer.
And that way you get to learn more about your spouse. It shows them that you care. The wall starts to come down. They'll probably ask you a follow-up question. Well, that was mine. How was your, like, what was the best part of your day? And then you start to bring down that wall. And that's when communication starts to open. Trust starts to rebuild. You're there for each other. And
just keeps that connection strong.
Exactly.
I love it. It's so simple. It's not easy, like you guys said, but it's so simple. And anyone can do that.
Easy to do, easy not to do though. So you got to put the priority on it.
I hear that. Well, you guys are awesome. Craig and Meredith, thank you for coming here. You listening, excuse me, you already heard, you can go download the podcast. Where should people follow along, learn more, or be able to reach out to you guys?
We are most active on Instagram. We're at Meredith and Craig on Instagram. We share all of our little bite-sized tools and strategies, and you can follow us along there. You can send us a DM. We're very reachable on Instagram.
I love it. It's on the screen for those of you listening. It's down below in the show notes, websites, podcast, all the fun things. Reach out, follow along with Craig and Meredith. Develop that kick-ass relationship that we promised you in the show's opening. Thank you guys for being here. This was great.
Thanks so
much.
And for those of you listening, watching, wherever you are, please subscribe. We love having you. We put out 5 episodes a week because we want to help you build a more harmonious business and life. So we'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.